Namaskar and welcome to this edition of our special series on India UN partnership to mark 75th anniversary of United Nations. Listeners may recall India has been one of the founding members of the world body. Today we are observing World AIDS Day. The day focuses attention on the need to address the challenges faced by AIDS and its prevention and control. We have with us Mr. Bilali Kamara, medical epidemiologist and UN AIDS Country Director for India. Welcome to the show, Mr. Bilali Kamara.
Thank you very much for having me.
Listeners, I would like to introduce in brief about the expertise which Mr. Kamara holds. Mr. Bilali Kamara has been at the forefront of AIDS prevention and control programs on behalf of UN AIDS in India since May 2017. A qualified doctor and epidemiologist, Mr. Kamara is a citizen of Netherlands and Mali. He holds a master's degree in public health and has got extensive trainings in the field of medical health and epidemiology across the globe. Mr. Bilali Kamara has earlier served as UN AIDS Country Director for Nigeria and Angola. For almost 15 years, he has served as a WHO epidemiologist for HIV, AIDS, TB, STI prevention and control in Caribbean, Latin America, and North America. Mr. Kamara brings with himself over 34 years of valuable experience in health policy, epidemiology, clinical sciences, and medical virology. He has got many awards and citations to his credit and is also a member of India's state-level Disease Burden Initiative Advisory Board. Welcome, Mr. Bilali Kamara, to our program.
Thank you very much again for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, World AIDS Day today reminds all of us of our responsibilities in tackling the challenges of AIDS. The theme this year is Global Solidarity, Shared Responsibility. What does this imply?
This means simply that when the world has a problem, not one person can answer to it. However, one person can make a difference. It means simply that bringing ourselves together as people, bringing ourselves together as nations, we can really make a difference in the real answering to any challenge which we are facing. And that is clearly the theme of this year, to really remind people that we are brothers and sisters keepers, and we are certainly one world, and you cannot really do what you want or achieve what you want when you believe that you are the only one. And generally, as I used to tell to the Americans when I go to the US Congress, a problem in Haiti in the morning can be the same a problem for the US in the afternoon. Because at that time already, 7 airplanes were going on daily basis between the United States and Haiti. It means simply that if you look at the case of the COVID, you will understand it clearly that the world is interconnected. We are together, we are one world, and we have to act together to really help each other. And that's where the global solidarity is important, and that's where the shared responsibility is important. Shared responsibility is every citizen has a role to play, and every citizen has to play that role. And it's just that togetherness which can really help us to build a better world, to build a better humanity. That's why this theme has been chosen this year, specifically to really look at what is going on now and to remember what has gone for the past, 40 years. So the bottom line is how we can learn from HIV to really address COVID is an important opportunity which we are really using as much as possible, and to really see how better we can really get, and then to AIDS, and then to COVID, as well as specifically for India and to tuberculosis as well.
You have really pointed out the crux of this issue and how relevant it is in case of HIV/AIDS. We have seen the numbers going down over the years, and we have also seen we have really traversed a long way since the modalities of prevention and control of HIV/AIDS came into practice. So what are the main concerns and challenges?
As you said, the numbers are going down. It is true, but the numbers can go up. It is true. And that is the fact which we have really to always keep in mind in public health. Neglected diseases have been with us for such a long time. I will give you the case of tuberculosis. One of our colleagues was telling us it is almost, 2000 or something years old. So it means simply that when you don't push, you will not get it done. And we know, for example, with polio, we were able to eradicate it. If you want a smallpox, we were able to eliminate it, and many measles, etc., etc. So the point is simply that complacency is the challenge. As the numbers are coming down, people forget. The issue has been here for a long time. People forget. It is not anymore on the front burner. People forget. But the reality is simply that it is not going away as long as we don't really attend it and we don't really take care of it. It's possible. And if you look at the situation in many countries, including India, the new infections, for example, went down very, very fast until 2010. But after 2010, there has been some slowing down because of maybe we said we are winning, but we have not won. Maybe we think that we have achieved what we wanted to achieve. It is not true. And new infections are continuing and cases of death are continuing, etc., etc. And those are realities which are there. So that's why we want to call on the leadership in India and relook at how we can re-energize this process together. And we are really thinking hard together to really see how better. As the United Nations, meaning really UNAIDS, as you may know, we are coordinating the support of 11 UN agencies to the HIV/AIDS issues. And we are really working together meaning really together to really put our effort as one and to really help NACO and to help other ministries, line ministries, which needs our help, such as the Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment, and such as the Minister of Home Affairs and the Minister of Work, Labor. And those are a few examples where we really are almost a daily basis trying as much as possible to answer to the needs of the people. What has been really important is, you have to admit it, success has been done, that the issue has been well understood. And specifically in India, if you look at the treatment component, things are really going in the right direction. And India, being the pharmacy of the world, has really been able to make it available to the world antiretroviral drugs at a very cheaper price, very good quality. And it has really helped us to get some good results in terms of survival, in terms of really economic productivity of people. Because as you may know, AIDS is a problem of the economically productive branch or component of the society. It is mainly a problem of the 15 to 49 years old. So that is the fact which is the reality. And that's how really we have been able to change the picture. But what is important into this, we have put a goal as one of our common goal as a world to really end AIDS by 2030 as a public health threat. And we really have to work together to achieve that. And to achieve that, we have to achieve at least, we'll say, 6 major components. One is to achieve, now we are really not looking at 90 anymore, but 95, 95, 95, meaning 95% of all people in HIV/AIDS have to be tested to know their status, and 95% of them are put on treatment, and 95% of them are virally suppressed, meaning simply that they cannot transmit anymore the disease. And another component which is there is to reduce by 75% the new HIV infections and to reduce by 75% also the AIDS-related death. And it means also to really bring to almost below 5% the mother-to-child transmission of HIV so that no child should be born, we want, with this issue anymore. And the possibilities are there. And India has made a good decision to really put everybody who is living with HIV on treatment. And if you have that case, almost the transmission from mother to child is zero. And now, if the viral load suppression is achieved, also the transmission from infected to non-infected is almost zero. That means simply that we have the means. It is just a question of really, to some extent, believing that we have won early, and what has really been the challenge.
You have a vast experience in tackling the challenge of AIDS in the African region, also in the Latin America, the Caribbeans, and now you're working in Indian context. What are the lessons which we seem to be gaining in terms of the experiences in HIV/AIDS management, prevention and control in India? Has it really been effective, A? And B, what are the best evidence-based practices which you can enumerate for the other countries in the region to say so?
For India, the most important part of it is at the beginning already, to be honest with you, they have been able to listen to people, to engage people, to sit down with people, to tell to people, we are here, we are listening to you, we want to do what you believe is the best, because you are the one who know. A medical doctor, yes, you can have your prescriptions, etc., your drugs, etc., but the one who is living with the disease is the one who certainly can really help even the medical doctor. Because if you go to see the medical doctor, he will ask you, what do you have? I'm correct? So the bottom line is NACO was able actually to actively engage with the communities, and meaning most marginalized people, the most left behind, such as men who have sex with men, transgender, sex workers, people who inject drugs, to really bring them in and say, listen, how we can do this together. And that has been a very, very important step in the right direction. And they have created the system of TIs, the targeted intervention, which is really an important step where people who are living with HIV or people who are affected by HIV are providing services to their own communities, and the government is really supporting them. And that is a model which we have called it the social contracting. And it is really a model which the whole world is looking at and the whole world is trying to really replicate. It has created is really, it has lowered the whole stigma, it has lowered the whole discrimination, and it has really helped to really get people in to come and discuss their problems, discuss their limitations, discuss their issues, and now try to find solutions. And close to 1,700 of those structures are everywhere in the country, and that is really a good model which we are really trying to replicate, and people are looking at it in the region or in Africa to really see how things can be done and done differently. And another element which we are really adding to what I will say I'm bringing here from Nigeria, for example, is the whole integration process. It means what? It means simply that an issue can be handled for a while in isolation or in a vertical approach, vertical way. But after a certain time, we have to learn really to see how some of the pieces, because vertical approach is always expensive. And who will have enough money to face all the issues? That is the challenge. So we have really put together pieces in the case of, for example, Nigeria, to really bring the TB program and the HIV program to work closely together, because as you may know, tuberculosis is the most prevalent opportunistic infection among people living with HIV. And we have brought together also the National AIDS program with the primary health care, which we call here the National Health Mission. And we have engaged also with the hepatitis program to really bring them together. Because what is important into this is, if you look at to how health services are offered, and you have the village health days in India. In Nigeria, you have national, they call it MNCH weeks, mother-child health weeks. So what we do is really we say, listen, instead of really keeping things in isolation, let us see how better we can really integrate some of those things which are useful in the package of service we offer to people. Typically, a woman who is coming, who is pregnant, can get everything at the single stop, a single shop, single outlet. You come, you have your hemoglobin done. You come, you have your, if you want a sickle cell anemia test done. You come, you have your the measurement of the pregnancy, the etc., etc. All the pregnancy processes really sorted out. You will be tested for syphilis, because we know syphilis is a serious problem. You will be tested for hepatitis. It is another problem which and you might be tested also for HIV. So meaning a pregnant woman does not need anymore to say, okay, the TB program is at 20 meter, go there, or the HIV testing is at 400 meter, go there. And but when you come, you have everything at one place. You get everything done. And if there are problems, yes, or there are situations, yes, you can really be transferred to get specific services where they are necessary. But the first point is really helping you also to really get things done in a different way.
Yes.
And another challenge which India has is really the size of the country. It is a subcontinent, as some people say. I say it is a continent, but some people say, no, it is a subcontinent. Let's fight. We will not fight against that terminology. The point which is important into it is simply that the diseases are not spread the same way. If you go from let us say from Tamil Nadu to UP or Assam, or you really don't, it is not the same typology, it is not the same epidemiology, it is, and you look at also to the disease, the spread is not the same. And what we have done in Nigeria, which we are doing now here also, is really to say, listen, even if you look at to a state, there are differences. Some districts are more affected by this issue, some are more affected by this other issue. So we have really pushed now to, and today our Director General has really insisted, FUNACO has really insisted on it, to really go at district level, to prioritize districts. And typically, as Niti Aogo is doing it, aspirational districts. That is the global term in economic development. But if you look at to the HIV issues, you will find also that if you go in Maharashtra, you will find districts which are very much affected. You will find districts which are not very much affected. So what strategy to really put in place so that you can answer to those needs? Because of the size of the population, yes, it is big. We have to go focus. We have to really put our attention where it matters the most.
Yeah, you rightly pointed out the issue in context. Another major issue which we have been witnessing that this time, especially this year 2020, the global community has been witnessing the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. Based on your experiences in HIV/AIDS management and control, do you see any parallels between these two? And how it has affected the management and control of other infectious diseases like HIV/AIDS or tuberculosis or other diseases to say so?
I think it is a very good point, and we have to learn out of it. We have to learn from HIV to COVID. That is important. That means you have to get people at the center of the issue, of the response. Talk to the people, engage them, get the community with you, let them understand what the issue is. They will tell you how to solve it. Because that is the important part of it. That dialogue is really essential. If we get that dialogue going on, it will really make a difference. And yes, COVID, when it came, it has really helped us to use that approach to move forward with it. Stigmatizing people does not help, because the more you stigmatize, the more they run away from you, and they may have the issue. So bring people in again, help them to be the center of the response. That is really critical. That is what we have learned from HIV. And make sure that people are engaged meaningfully. Meaningfully is meaning that if you come to talk to them, they have to really feel that, yes, I'm understood or I'm contributing to the issue. And those are lessons which we really have learned, and we have really pushed for it. And take care of the people. Take care of the people who have the issue. Don't forget that, because if you don't take care of the people who have the issue, you are missing the ball. So that is another lesson which we have really learned from there. Yeah. But from the other side, yes, COVID has been a serious threat to many of the health programs or health problems because of the lockdowns, because people even are till now afraid even to go to the health facilities because they believe they can get COVID there. And some of the health facilities which we had for example, for HIV, have been transformed into COVID health centers, etc., etc. So what we have done is really, again, to put our heads together, to work with the community, to say, listen, in the case of HIV, for example, what should change? They said, okay, multi-month dispensation. It means simply that Mr. Tiwari needs his drugs. Every month he has to come. We have challenged it many, many times, but when COVID came, it went quickly. People said, yes, this is right. Let us do it. Instead of really the medicalization, let us bring people, make them responsible. So instead of 1 month to you, they give you 3 months, 4 months, or 6 months stock of your dog, and you go home with it. And in terms of OST, which is drug users medication also, we have said the same thing. Listen, instead of giving people, everyday doses, give them takeaway homes. Take home doses. Don't really try to control too much. Let us talk. Let us understand each other. Let us, and they're very involved.
Basically, you mean to say that the key messages which we have got from the COVID pandemic are really sort of an eye-opener, that many experiences, many experiments, many lessons which we learned in the past, they can be applied in the present context as well. Bilali,
they have to be applied, they should be applied, and we really not let them down anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I will give you this other example, which is the community-based delivery of medication. I will tell you, I'm living with HIV. I am working. The time I'm working is the time the facility is open. The time I finish working, the health facility is closed down because the medical doctor is a worker also. He's gone home. So the bottom line is, if I have to see him, I have to stop my work to come during daytime and to get my medication. And we have started in Gujarat and other part of the country to really look at if there is not an alternative. For example, getting, small organizations, community-based organizations, which have 20, 30 people they take care of. And you finish your work before coming back home. For example, I leave the UN. Before coming back home, I stop by my community, organization, and I get my medication. 1, it is protective for me. Two, I don't lose time. Three, employer will not always ask me, but why are you always absent? Why are you going always to this? Disclosure is there. Your problem is out, which you don't want. Confidentiality is broken, etc., etc. So yes, COVID has really helped us to solidify good practices which we had in mind, and even in a quicker way. I really have to say, very, very quickly, we were able to really make those changes, and we will continue.
I was just reading the report prepared by UNAIDS, the recently that report which came publication was the prevailing against pandemic. Can you just highlight some of the important messages from the report and how is it relevant in Indian context and especially in the context of the Indian subcontinent to say so?
I think India can take all the messages which are there, because you said it is a subcontinent. It is true. Things are different. It is clear. But what are the common parameters? The common parameters are important. Always make people the center of the response. Always engage people as much as possible. Avoid any type of exclusion. Include people. Remember always that the one who is left behind is the most important, because that's what public health is really about. The one who is left behind, who you forget, is the most important. And we are interconnected. You cannot get a healthy community. You cannot get a healthy village. You cannot get a healthy, city if people are excluded, if people are not involved and taken care of. That's why there is really, really a need for a universal health coverage, which can really provide essential quality healthcare. Prevention is critical into this, because health is not disease. Health is not in the health facilities. Health is out of the health facilities. Prevention is very important. That's why when I look at the case here, the Ayushman Bharat component on wellness centers is really critical. And in that wellness centers, you will get not only your physical training, your yoga, but you will get also those basic tests which will be run for you, including cervical cancer testing and pap smears, etc., etc. So I think what is really important is those are the important messages which are really there to say the health of any nation is the wealth of that nation. And that is really critical. We cannot really, I don't know how to say it differently, but clearly that's the reality. And now that is the message which is there. And to really say health is essential, and it has to be the center of any economic development. It has to be the center of any social development, and it has to be the center of any human development.
Well, listeners, that was Mr. Bilali Kamara, UNAIDS Country Director India, sharing his thoughtful insights with All India Radio on the challenges in prevention and control of AIDS on the World AIDS Day. Thanks for your valuable time. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.